A small Mississippi town was shaken up on the afternoon of March 19, 2024, by an unthinkable crime. A 14-year-old young girl named Carly Madison Gregg was arrested after shooting her mother, Ashley Smiley, and injuring her stepfather after they had found out about her secret life. In today's video, we'd be breaking down this story while checking out the body cam and surveillance footage that led to Carly's conviction. The Carly Gregg incident has left a lasting impact on the small town of Florence, Mississippi. A lot of people were shocked when they heard the news of a brutal murder. Law enforcement alike were left to grapple with the unthinkable of how a young girl of 14 years would commit such an unthinkable act. Carly Gregg, before this fateful day, had always shown some signs of distress, although some people around her would imagine the extent of which the signs would manifest. Family, friends, and teachers would describe Carly as a bright and gifted student in her earlier years. She was a participant of school activities like school plays. She excelled in science. However, Carly's behavior started to change drastically when she was around age 13. According to reports, Carly's home life was tumultuous. While her family seemed like a typical blended family, things were tense beneath the surface. It seemed like there was an inconsistent style of parenting between her mother, Heath Smiley, and her biological father, who lived out of town. Her relationship with her biological father, who lived out of town, was a complicated factor, seeing as Ashley Smiley was a strict parent who often tried to impose rigid rules to keep Carly out of trouble. But those who knew the family mentioned that every time Carly went to her father's, she often seemed more rebellious after returning home from those visits. It all began when Carly's mother, Ashley Smiley, and stepfather, Heath Smiley, found out about a secret life Carly was living. Carly's friend, who had been worried about Carly's use of smoking marijuana, about her getting high, and also about her having burner phones which Carly's mom had no idea about. So he felt compelled to tell her that day. Ashley Smiley, who might have previously been suspicious of Carly's behavior. Ashley Smiley had gone on to search Carly's room and indeed confirmed her worst fears when she found some vape pens, marijuana, and burner phones just before she was shot and killed by her daughter. Ashley's discovery would set in motion the horrific events of March 19, 2024. Carly was captured on their home surveillance footage, walking around the home before walking around the house, and allegedly firing 3 shots at her mother, Ashley, who was found dead from a gunshot wound to the face. In the footage, Carly is seen wandering around the house in a Nirvana t-shirt and was trying to hide something behind her back, which was later identified to be a .357 Magnum handgun, as she positioned herself to face the camera after sliding out of the room. This action, whether premeditated or a spur of the moment decision, still remains unclear. After Carly disappears from the view of the surveillance camera, 3 apparent gunshots and a woman's screams are heard. One of the bullets had struck Ashley in the head. Neighbors told the police that they initially thought the gunshot's noise was fireworks and only realized the gravity of the situation when they heard Pollock's sirens. The teenager returns to the kitchen a few seconds after the shooting, hiding the weapon at her back as she sits on a stool at the kitchen counter and grabs her mother's phone as her 2 dogs hovered near her. After the murder, Carly's cold and calculated behavior was so shocking even to seasoned detectives. Not only did she shoot her mother, she covered her face with a towel, after which she went back to the kitchen. This seems to have been the time when she messaged her stepfather, luring him to the house. She sent him a text pretending to be her mother saying, "When will you be home, honey?" This chilling manipulation indicates that Carly had no intentions of stopping with just her mother. It also seemed to be the time she had texted her friends to come over, claiming there was an emergency. Once the friend arrived, Carly allegedly asked her friend if she had ever seen a dead body before. After this, she led the friend to see her dead mother's body, saying her stepfather was next. When Heath later arrived at the house, he walked into an ambush. Carly shot him in the shoulder. Fortunately, Heath's instinct kicked in, and he was able to overpower her and wrestled the gun out of her hands. According to Heath's testimony in court, he said as soon as he opened the door to the kitchen, the gun went off in his face before the door was 3 or 4 inches wide open. The gun flashed in his face and went off 2 more times, but his hands were on the gun after the first shot and he twisted it from her hand. Heath recalled the horror of finding his wife dead. He recalled he found her lying on her back with a towel covering her face, and he immediately knew she had been shot because there was blood around, but he just wasn't sure of exactly where. A while after shooting both parents, the garage surveillance of their home shows her running away from the crime scene. However, she was caught a while after she escaped. The police got involved when a frantic 911 call was placed by Carly's stepfather, Heath Smiley, who despite Sin's injury, managed to place a call through. He had discovered his dead wife's body after Carly had shot him in the shoulder and ran away. At 5:07 p.m., some officers were dispatched to the Gregg family home. When the officers got to the scene, they discovered Heath crawling through the front door. Heath, who was injured and in shock, properly informed them of what had happened. He tries to scramble to tell the police a description of what Carly looked like and that she had run away, so she probably wasn't too far away. When the police start investigating the scene, they end up finding Ashley, and they immediately took Heath to the hospital while the cops continued investigating the rest of the scene. During the investigation, the cops discovered a security camera in the garage, and this camera caught the audio of the actual occurrence between Heath and Carly, as well as when Carly and her friend ran away from the house. Shortly after, Carly was found about 2 miles away from her home, just walking on the side of the street. She was immediately arrested by the police and was brought in for interrogation. Her expression was blank, unresponsive, and detached. Her demeanor was strangely calm for someone who had just committed such a violent act. She was arrested without incident and brought in for investigation. The murder of Ashley Smiley by her own daughter, Carly Gregg, sent a shockwave throughout the town. The community had not experienced something like this before. All those who knew the family struggled with the horrifying events and connecting it to the image of the normal girl that they once knew. Another victim in this tragedy was Carly's stepfather, Heath Smiley. After he was shot by Carly and narrowly escaped with his life, Heath didn't just give the challenge of recovery, but also the emotional devastation of losing his wife and grappled with the reality of Carly's actions. Despite everything, Heath expressed a complex mix of emotions towards his stepdaughter Carly. While he was devastated by what had happened, he also acknowledged that she was still a child who was struggling with some mental and emotional health issues. Heath's story is a reminder of the long, lasting impact of such a violent act on survivors and the complicated nature of forgiveness and grief. Carly Gregg's trial had become a media spectacle, with both the prosecution and defense presenting powerful arguments. The prosecutors painted Carly as a dangerous killer who kept burner phones, hidden vape pens containing marijuana, a history of cheating at school, and self-harm. The defense, however, argued that she was going through some significant mental health issues, and on the 19th of March, she was going through a state of psychosis in an episode of acute stress, which made her lose herself in what seemed to be the perfect storm. The prosecutors made clear to the court what they believed to have been the cause behind Carly killing her mother, Ashley, which was the discovery of Carly's secret life of drugs. They also presented a journal to the jury where she had written a list of some beliefs which included, "There is no God," "You don't need family," and "It's okay to be evil." Her defense, however, argued that the journal also paints a picture of a mentally unwell child who had repeatedly written about how much she was suffering. A psychiatrist, Dr. Andrew Clark, who testified during the trial, said the teenager was facing a mental health crisis on that day, and that her medications had made her significant mood swings much worse, which caused her to be hearing voices and having dissociative problems. Clark said to complicate things, her mother found out about her drug problems, and in Carly's case, she cared about her mother's approval, and that made matters worse, causing a crisis. He added that she was having various issues ranging from mood issues to self-harm to eating disorder issues to difficulty sleeping and hearing voices in her head, which were all leading up to January of 2024. He also said that some days before the shooting, Carly had been placed on some new medications, which made her symptoms worse. When Heath Smiley also took the stand during the trial, he said Carly had no idea of what had happened. He said when he saw her, she wasn't herself, and he hadn't seen anybody like that, even in movies. He said Carly was a sweet little girl, but that day it seemed like she had seen a demon or something. However, he also mentioned that despite this, he had maintained a good relationship with her, and they still talk daily. In the closing arguments, the prosecution said that Carly knew the difference between right and wrong. They said there's no doubt she was the one who killed her mother and also attempted to kill her stepfather when she aimed the gun right at his head and shot and hit his shoulder. And there's no doubt that she also tampered with evidence. They urged the jury to go there and find her guilty of all 3 charges because she was not insane when she committed the time, and that Carly knew exactly what she was doing and she knew the difference between right and wrong. However, the defense urged the jury not to find Carly not guilty by the reason of insanity. They said Carly was not a bad kid, wasn't enraged, and didn't harbor hate towards her mother or her stepfather, and that, in fact, it was the exact opposite. The defense attorney, Bridget Todd, told the court that Carly was experiencing significant mental health issues, which they knew ran in her family and was hereditary. She said Carly was a kid who was compliant with the medicine she was put on. However, that medication, without them being able to tell beforehand, worsened her symptoms. And while she was having a psychosis state in an episode of acute stress, she lost herself. Before the trial, Carly had been offered a plea deal of 40 years in prison, but she turned it down. Instead, her lawyers decided to pursue an insanity defense. But it just wasn't enough. During the court, Carly sobbed occasionally when watching the various footage that was played by the prosecution attorney. After just 4 days of testimony, the jury deliberated for an hour before they found her guilty on all 3 counts. Carly was sentenced to life in prison on counts of first-degree murder and attempted murder, and 10 years behind bars for tampering with evidence. It seems she would be spending the rest of her life behind bars, without parole. While the verdict brought some closure, it left some lingering questions as to how a 14-year-old could have committed such a heinous act. Questions about if Carly's actions could have been prevented. The Carly Gregg case sparked a broader debate on how the legal system usually handles cases which involves juvenile and mental health. Carly, who was only 14 at the time of committing the crime, was tried as an adult due to the severity of her crime. This decision was met with some controversy. Advocates for juvenile justice reform argues that Carly's age and mental health struggles should have been taken into greater consideration, while some others believed that the nature of the crime she committed warranted the prosecution. Based on the tragic case, few valuable lessons that can be drawn from the incident, emphasizing mental health, family dynamics, and the importance of intervention. 1. Recognize the early signs of mental health issues. Carly's behavior reportedly changed significantly in her early teenage years, displaying signs like mood swings, self-harm, and substance use. Recognizing such signs early on and seeking mental health support can prevent escalation. This case underscores the importance of mental health awareness, especially in adolescence. 2. The impact of family dynamics on mental well-being. Carly's relationship with her parents, especially the tension between her biological father and her mother's strict rules, may have contributed to her emotional struggles. Healthy, open family communication and consistent parenting approaches are essential for a child's mental stability. Families should work together to create a supportive, understanding environment. 3. The dangers of unchecked peer pressure and secret lives. Carly reportedly hid aspects of her life, such as drug use and possession of burner phones, from her family. This secretive behavior, potentially influenced by peer pressure, led to dangerous situations. Teaching young people about the dangers of substance abuse, encouraging honest communication, and establishing trust can help them make safer choices. 4. Intervention and support are crucial. Friends and family members were aware of some troubling aspects of Carly's behavior, but may not have realized the gravity of the situation. The case highlights the importance of intervention. If friends or family notice signs of distress, seeking professional help can be life-saving and may prevent future tragedies. 5. The role of medications and monitoring in mental health. Carly had been on medications that reportedly worsened her symptoms. It is crucial for mental health professionals and family members to monitor a young person's response to medication closely. Mismanaged treatment can exacerbate issues, so regular follow-ups and adjustments are necessary to ensure well-being. 6. The complexity of juvenile justice in cases involving mental health. Carly's case sparked debates on how the justice system should handle juveniles with mental health challenges. The decision to try her as an adult, despite her age and mental health background, emphasizes the need for legal reforms that consider both mental health and age in sentencing, aiming for rehabilitation over punishment when appropriate. In the end, the case of Carly Gregg isn't just a story of a tragic murder, but it's also a reflection of broader issues within the society. From mental health awareness to the complexities of the juvenile justice system, this case has opened up important conversations which would continue resonate in Florence, Mississippi, and beyond. This case still remains shocking to many. Many are wondering how Carly Gregg, who once used to be an outstanding student, suddenly started acting up, cheating at school, doing drugs, and a whole lot of other weird behaviors. Until she finally killed her mother, people are still wondering what exactly had come over her or gotten into her, while some people have no sympathy towards her at all and feel she deserves the sentence she got. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe something was indeed wrong with Carly Gregg, or do you believe she is just a cold-blooded killer who deserves the sentence she got? Don't forget to click on the subscribe and bell icon for more intriguing stories and cases like this. Also, check out our channel for more videos on the latest crime cases. Have a great day, and thank you all for watching this video.